Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade. Yes, I'm back with another Oblivion leaks video and potentially talking about what's going to happen with this game. In fact, actually, I'm going to give you the rundown on everything you need to know. As so many comments in the last few videos asking about whether it's come to PlayStation, what's going on with Game Pass. Some of the most obvious things I figured you guys would have learned or worked out by now, but still need some help with, so I'm going to deliver that today. Plus the newest confirmation by this time, not Microsoft, but Bethesda themselves. So let's go. Leave a like if you're looking forward to Oblivion. I'm going to be here with lots of showcase guides, gameplay and more as we go down everything we've known so far about it. So working backwards from the latest news all the way to the original stuff. Late yesterday afternoon, it was discovered that Bethesda have a page already lined up on their website dedicated to the Oblivion Remaster. This was posted on Reddit. Effectively, the source code, when you go and inspect the element, literally has this website address. Now, currently it's not live, but we're expecting that to obviously be pushed the minute news is officially announced by Bethesda that Oblivion is now ready to go ahead and buy. Coupled together with all the other information, you'd absolutely be an idiot to really think that this remaster is not happening at this point. So many leaks have come out in the last few weeks alone. I understood initial skepticism maybe and why people are still struggling to see why a stealth drop can happen, but just so much has come forward now. It is absolutely crazy to deny that this is actually happening. So 2 days ago, a whole bunch of screenshots were accidentally left up on the Virtuous website, the company that has done this remaster on behalf of Bethesda. This has been the source of all pretty much direct info that there would be a remaster or a remake incoming. It's the second time, in fact, that Virtuous have leaked something or people have managed to dig and find some of this info in the shape of some images, effectively again looking likely to be part of their own website page going live, showing that they were working on this game, and that's why it's got so many screenshots, as well as some darkened ones. That's because these are meant to be for the background or banners in certain cases. Now, the images of the actual games themselves in their box art and what they'll look like on the store page show obviously Xbox, but it will be coming to PlayStation. And the reason I point out as this maybe should have been obvious, there is a tiny little logo if you really peered closely, but I have mentioned it in like 2 of my other videos. With Microsoft's current strategy, there's no way they're leaving any money on the table. They know that there'd be eager, hungry PlayStation players looking forward to trying out. So yes, day one, it will be available on the PlayStation 5, as well as Xbox and Game Pass. And of course, Steam. If you was hoping that maybe once the Switch 2 arrives, you'd be able to play this as well, it doesn't look like it's going to be the case as of launch. One of the leakers, Detective Seeds, replied back to someone that they hadn't really heard of it appearing on a Nintendo Switch anytime soon. And if you've still got your dusty Xbox One and you've got cloud gaming with Game Pass, you'll be able to go ahead and play the game on your Xbox One via the streaming service. This and a bit more info came from someone directly asking Microsoft support again yesterday that whether or not this game was coming to Game Pass. Again, you can be skeptical about why the support team would be leaking this info, but we know they're mostly AI generated, etc. Call handlers that only come in now and then if there's something going wrong. But they do go off dedicated info that they're given, not necessarily always just scraping online. Otherwise, I can't see why they would equate and give more details about it potentially coming to other things like Xbox One via the streaming service. They've clearly been fed the info, or it's available on their internal sites and the logs that they use, but simply just hasn't been revealed to the public. And the release date that they have given has been the 21st, yes, of April, literally only a few days away. That tallies up with what the original leaker, Nate the Hate, clarified much earlier in the year, that actually the game was meant to have come out in June, but for whatever reason was pushed forward and instead would now arrive in late April. Now, there's confusion about DLC. Obviously, from these images again, you can see there's plenty of images and there is a deluxe edition. It's absolute common sense that the base game is going to include all the previous DLCs that originally launched when the game first came out back in 2006, or whenever they appeared in the meantime after. So Knights of the Nine, the Shivering Isles, the original horse armor that caused such controversy at the time as being one of the first major kind of crap MTX microtransactions, plus some actually surprising amount of smaller other ones like map locations for things and stuff too. That is typically what all remasters offer, the original base game plus any additional DLC that was made in and around the time. And of course the deluxe edition is fairly obvious to me that we're getting 2 brand new armor sets by the looks of things, a whole selection of different weapons and 2 brand new horse armors or horse variants. What we don't yet know is what the final image at the bottom of the white background and the character in some sort of archway means. Is this going to be an exclusive quest for the deluxe edition? I don't think it's a digital art book or anything like that, as I'm sure there would be better images to show. And obviously the deluxe edition is going to be a bit more money in terms of buying it. So the base edition I'm guessing is going to be around the usual price, £59 to £69 or dollars depending on where you are. As we saw with Avowed and other games, their deluxe editions go all the way up to £79 to £85. So again, maybe about $80 to $90. No one can guarantee that it's going to be a physical copy edition going live anytime soon. Given it's a stealth drop, I can't see that happening for a while. By now, someone would have found that you was able to buy it physically on Amazon or Best Buy or any of the other basically stores that you would normally find games. So don't discount that it might happen in the future, but for now it looks like it will be a digital only stealth drop. According to Detective Seeds, the second leaker that got a few dates wrong initially, but then came good with the initial week of release, it won't have mod support at launch, which might not be a surprise to some people. Given it's a stealth drop, if they'd let a bunch of modders know or give access to dev kits and stuff for it, then that would have leaked out a lot sooner, but that potentially could be something that is offered in the future. My absolutely hearsay now and my opinion about it is, I'm sure they are going to add this kind of stuff, and I'm sure that Oblivion will have a bunch of the content creation kind of mini DLCs that you can pay real money for as part of the launch. I also think they're going to go heavy into this, seeing that it's starting to be more popular with Skyrim and Fallout now after its initial controversy years ago. Of course, the dedicated modding scene is still there, and as said, we can only hope that the game will support it in future, even if it is going to be technically based on another engine. But there's no guarantees, because the game is using the Unreal Engine 5 as a graphical overhaul on top of the original creation engine that may cause considerable amount of effort and time for modders to really get into. So let's talk about Remake versus Remaster as we also look at some of the screenshots that have got brightened up. So back in January, the MP1ST website found evidence from a Virtuous employee that had basically updated his profile and LinkedIn and stuff, who apparently worked on the game from 2023 to 2024. He said that the game would be completely remade from the ground up. He mentioned in his website that it would have improved and reworked stamina, sneak, blocking, archery, hit reaction and HUD. For the blocking system, ideas were to improve it taken from Souls-like games and ACT, which many people have assumed meant the Assassin's Creed trilogy, although that seems a bit tenuous still. Instead, it probably relates to just an action combat game. The original sneak icons are now highlighted in the improved sneak system, and the damage calculation methods were reworked. The stamina system is going to be modified to be less frustrating for the player, making the knockdown that occurs when stamina is depleted more difficult to activate through changes in calculation method. The HUD was changed to make it easier to understand and more aesthetically appealing to young players. Hit reactions were also added to improve the response to damage inflicted on the player and NPCs. And finally, archery has been improved to make it more playable and modern in both third and first person viewpoints. However, from the most recent screenshots, it's clearly labelled a remaster. From the Bethesda website, it's labelled the remaster, and from the messages from Xbox support, it's labelled a remaster. In fact, back in 2022, when FTC legal documents were leaked pertaining to Microsoft buying Bethesda in the original place, it was always listed as a Oblivion remaster. Now in the day, that was meant to have come out actually in around 2022, 2023, but obviously things happened, COVID, other stuff going on, and it clearly has needed more time and work. So, if the makers of the game are calling it a remaster, that's what I'm calling it. I'm no longer going to keep calling it a remake, even if I did keep mentioning it as a remake in my video the other day. But that's where we're at. It is a graphically overhauled and updated modern look and feel to the world of Oblivion. I do worry that the conflict between looking like that but also still playing like the original might be quite jarring, but with the improvements they seem to be making, according to the first original leak from this. I'm hoping they'll meld together to give us an actually decent game. And that's pretty much where we're at. There's other info, I could go in more detail about the leakers themselves, but I've covered that in so many other videos, and it's not really as important now. You can ask questions about why it's a stealth drop still. You can ask why it's appearing now instead of June. And I don't know the answers. I can only speculate that this is a beloved franchise. They don't need to hype it up and do loads of marketing because people just instantly go and buy it. If they did potentially leave it as something announced and then come out a few months later, that has the potential to backfire, with maybe older fans kind of just crapping on it at every chance they can on socials. Press and other usual kind of outlets would expect to get hands-on in the game, and then they may actually deliver, actually, the game's not that great. So that's kind of the negative, skeptical side of things. But the positive side is that Todd Howard has always wanted to do this. He wanted to create less marketing time and lead up time to releases and their announcements. That goes back from quotes and interviews all the way from Fallout 4. With the news of maybe a deluxe edition and potentially no real mod support, again being a bit skeptical, that could also poison it a little bit and make people feel like it's not worth investing in. But if it's launched just suddenly, everyone jumps on the hype, it's a big news moment, it really does give Xbox a bit of kudos. And I would imagine since it's going live on PlayStation as well, they maybe don't want to kind of have too many games in their June showcase, which is meant to celebrate the best of Xbox, highlighting the fact that they are now selling their games on a PlayStation 5 as well. They're going to be happy to take the money from them, just like they have been with Forza and obviously other games like Sea of Thieves. But it's a strong message to say that this remaster is going to be available on Game Pass day one. And that's where we're at, everyone. Hopefully I've given you the complete breakdown. Hopefully I've answered any of the questions that people keep coming up with. Once we get concrete info, if there's any more details, I'll absolutely deliver it to you first. And beyond all these leaks, I will be doing guides and getting into the game, just like I did with Skyrim Anniversary Edition. So make sure you subscribe for that and more open world RPG games like Avowed, like upcoming Outer Worlds, and of course any news about Fable, and maybe one day Elder Scrolls 6. Until next time, I'll see you at Bags later.